Grandpa Sue's granddaughter had inherited the Sue family clinic. My mom complained that I wouldn't wake up during the day or sleep at night, so she asked her to check my pulse. Mooching, give him a thorough exam. Let's see if this boy is deficient or not. I wish the ground would just open up and swallow me whole. Sue Mooching remained silent for a few seconds, looking at me with an inscrutable expression. Chronic sleep deprivation. Watch fewer videos. My mom, clueless, asked loudly, "What videos?" A man can accept death, but social death in front of his family is unacceptable. I answered quickly, "I'm watching American blockbusters." Sue Mooching let out a soft through her nose. Her tone was flat, but her follow-up was fatal. Whether they're American or Japanese, you need to practice moderation. Lin Xiaodong, experience most of the highlights of my life at night. Daytime? The day is for recharging, so I can dominate the virtual world night. Sure enough, back home for the new year, my biological clock remained perfectly on American time. It stood in stark contrast to my mom's health philosophy of rising with the sun and resting at sunset. Lin Xiaodong, look what time it is. The sun is shining on your backside, and you're still not up. My mom's voice pierced through the bedroom door. I shrank deeper into the covers, mumbling a vague response. I'm up, getting up right now. In my head, I was replaying the game I almost won last night. If only that teammate hadn't been such a troll. Outside, my mom's voice continued, though her target had shifted. Mooching, look at him. Can't wake him up in the day. Can't get him to sleep at night. How can his body handle that? You're a doctor. Take a look at him. Check his pulse. See if there's something wrong. My heart skipped a beat, and I was instantly wide awake. Mooching? Sue Mooching? My friend Sue Tieming's older sister? She was back. Sue Mooching was a few years older than me. A certified TCM practitioner from a proper medical school, she now saw patients at her family's rather famous clinic. To my mom, she was the ultimate version of someone else's perfect child. Beautiful, stable job, and an expert in healthy living. In my eyes, she was just the older sister figure I'd known all my life. The problem was, she had eyes like a hawk. Nothing escaped her. I couldn't let her know I was a gaming otaku living a nocturnal life fueled by coffee and instant noodles. And I definitely couldn't let her know I was a diligent student who spent every day studying on the court browser. Andy, Xiaodong, is probably just relaxing during the holidays. Sue Mooching's voice drifted in, faint and devoid of emotion. Relaxing? That's not relaxing. He's practically taking root in that bed. My mom didn't save me a shred of dignity. Mooching, don't make excuses for him. Just wait until he comes out and give him a good checkup. I hid under the covers, ears pricked up. I wouldn't go out there even if it killed me. I stalled until nearly noon when I was starving. Only then did I sneak out of my room, planning to raid the kitchen for food. In the living room, my mom was chatting with Sue Mooching. Sue Tianming wasn't around, probably hadn't woken up yet. In that regard, he and I were comrades in arms. Oh, so you finally decided to get up? My mom shot me a glance, her tone exasperated. I gave a hollow laugh, my gaze sweeping over Sue Mooching. She was wearing a light-colored sweater today and looked quite gentle. But when her eyes met mine, I still felt a pang of guilt. Sister Mooching, you're back. She nodded, her gaze lingering on my face for 2 seconds. You don't look so good. Not enough sleep. I got plenty of sleep. I quickly changed the subject. Mom, is there anything to eat? I'm starving. All you think about is eating. Go wash your face first and wake yourself up. My mom ordered. Feeling like I'd been granted amnesty, I slipped into the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. Yeah, the dark circles were a bit heavy, and I looked a bit pale. No, I had to appear more sunny and healthy. I slapped my cheeks vigorously and forced out what I thought was an energetic smile. When I came out, a fruit platter was already on the coffee table. My mom signaled me with her eyes, so I resigned myself to fate and picked up a tangerine. I intended to hand it to Sue Mooching to break the ice. Sister Mooching, have a tangerine. I reached out, but just as the fruit touched her fingertips, suddenly her hand sliced upward like lightning, clamping precisely onto my wrist. I was startled and instinctively tried to pull back. Her grip wasn't heavy, but it held me firmly in place. Sister Mooching, you. I was bewildered. She ignored me. The fingers of her other hand were already resting on my pulse. Her eyelids drooped slightly, and her expression was identical to the old TCM doctors I'd seen at the hospital. It's over, it's over, it's over. Alarm bells were ringing wildly in my head. Since when do they do surprise attacks? She didn't give me any time to prepare. My mom watched from the side, beaming with delight. Yes, yes, yes. Mooching, give him a proper checkup. See if this kid is deficient or not. I wish the ground would open up and swallow me whole. Deficient? Mom, could you please choose a different word? Sue Mooching fell silent for a few seconds, then lifted her eyes, her gaze landing coolly on my face. Chronic sleep deprivation, eye strain, mental exhaustion. You should watch fewer videos. My mom didn't understand and asked loudly, what videos? A man can die, but he cannot suffer social death in front of his family. I immediately retorted, I watch American blockbusters. Sue Mooching let out a soft MH through her nose. Her tone was flat, but her follow-up was lethal. Whether American or Japanese, you need to do it in moderation. My mom immediately turned her spearhead toward me, eyes widening. Did you hear that? Mooching told you to watch less. All day long, you just stare at those flashy, colorful things. Do you want to keep your eyes or not? Stifled with frustration, I could only glare viciously at Sue Mooching, telepathing my anger with my eyes. Why did you have to add that last part? But she completely ignored my death stare and turned to look at my mom, casually tossing out another question. Andy, does he have a regular diet? Does he crave cold things or love raw and greasy food? I hurriedly beat her to the answer. Regular. Very regular. I don't crave cold stuff either. I'm health conscious. I drink hot water. As long as we didn't keep discussing the video issue, anything was fine. The corner of Sue Mooching's mouth seemed to hook into a faint arc as she looked at me. Is that so? Then explain this. Who did I see from my window late last night buying ice-cold cola and spicy snacks at the convenience store downstairs? Me. I really was starving past 1 a.m. last night and snuck down to stock up. She saw that. Is she part owl? Doesn't she sleep? Lynn. Shout. Don't. My mom's voice instantly went up an octave, her teeth already grinding. Sue Mooching pressed her advantage, continuing to speak to my mom. Also, is he often sedentary? Sitting for most of the day without moving? I quickly defended myself. I move. I get up to move around all the time, going to the toilet, getting water, picking up takeout. My voice got smaller and smaller because I saw my mom's face turn as black as the bottom of a wok. Sue Mooching delivered the killing blow with perfect timing. Those don't count as effective exercise. Long term, this causes neck and lumbar issues. His wrists won't be able to take it either. Wrists? I subconsciously moved my right wrist, which actually had been sore lately. How does she know even that? All right, you. Lynn shouted on. My mom exploded completely. I was wondering why sometimes you don't react when I call you in broad daylight. So you've been pulling all-nighters and sleeping during the day. And you dare to lie to me about sleeping early and rising early. Just watch how I deal with you today. Saying this, my mom stood up, her eyes scanning the room. She was looking for a handy weapon, like a feather duster or a slipper. I was scared out of my wits. Almost instinctively, I darted behind the sofa where Sue Mooching was sitting. Dignity didn't matter anymore. Saving my life was the priority. Mom, calm down. Sister Mooching is still here. I grabbed Sue Mooching's shoulders, using her as a shield, my voice practically sobbing. Sue Mooching, however, was very calm. She even reached up and gently patted my hand, gripping her shoulder, probably because I was squeezing too hard. Then she flashed a smile that could be described as gentle on my mom. Auntie, don't get worked up. His issues are mainly caused by bad lifestyle habits. It's not a major illness. I can help him regulate his health. A miracle occurred. My mom's raging fury was like a fire doused with a basin of cold water. Hiss, it went out. Her face changed instantly, her smile becoming incredibly benevolent. Really? Oh my, that's wonderful. Mooching, I knew you'd have a solution. I was just thinking you two should get to know each other better. My mom's attitude did a complete 180. She enthusiastically took Sue Mooching's hand. This brat is lazy to death and can't take care of himself. When you have time, take him under your wing. Urge him to go out and exercise. Don't let him just rot at home. Hiding behind Sue Mooching, the more I listened, the more wrong it felt. Why did the vibe change so fast? Just a moment ago, it was violence and murder, and now it's get to know each other and take him under your wing. Why do I feel like I've been sold by my mom? And under the guise of health regulation, it's actually matchmaking? Sue Mooching smiled and nodded, agreeing with my mom. Then she turned her head slightly and said in a voice only I could hear, "Let go. You're hurting me." I finally realized and quickly let go. My mind a tangled mess. This new year, the opening game is just social death plus crisis. My wrist was still throbbing faintly, and there was no telling what awaited me next. Sure enough, moments later, my mom kicked me out of the house, telling me to keep Sue Mooching company and go for a spin. My hand paused as I was fastening my seatbelt. I turned to look at Sue Mooching, who had just started the car. Dr. Sue. I clear my throat, trying to make my tone sound composed. Why do I feel like I've been sold by my mom and your brother working together? Sue Mooching kept her eyes on the road, skillfully turning the steering wheel to guide the car out of the residential complex. Her tone was flat. Do you? I do. I definitely do, I said, getting a bit agitated. Look at this. One minute my mom wants to beat me up, and the next she's asking you to take me out more. That speed of face changing. Even a Sichuan opera master would have to give her a thumbs up. And Tianming, that stinky brat definitely knew you were coming back today. He didn't even give me a heads up, leaving me totally unprepared. It was a straight-up social death scene. The corners of Sue Mooching's mouth seemed to curve slightly, but she quickly returned to her usual expression. Auntie is just concerned about your health. As for Tianming, he probably felt that I needed some social activity. Social activity? I caught on to that term and immediately pressed on. You and me? What kind of social activity is that? This is clearly I stammered, unable to find the right word. Sue Mooching took over, her voice as steady as ever. You can understand it as social interaction between acquaintances for the purpose of health intervention. I am responsible for supervising your schedule and exercise. You're responsible for cooperating with the treatment. Health intervention? Social interaction between acquaintances. I repeated these incredibly formal-sounding terms. A light bulb went off in my head, and I blurted out, "Isn't that just a fancy way of saying babysitting?" And sanctioned by my mom, no less. Sue Mooching finally turned her head to glance at me. Her look seemed to say, "You just figured that out?" I leaned back against the seat, feeling like my worldview had taken a hit. That's ridiculous. Sue Mooching, you're my friend's sister. We're way too close. I've seen photos of you with braids gnawing on a watermelon. You've seen my dark history of running around the yard in split-crotch pants. This feels as horrifying as suddenly having to date my aunt. Sue Mooching didn't react much to this. She just said calmly, "You're overthinking it. It's just ordinary health management." Ordinary. I expressed serious doubt. Besides, I remember Tianming mentioning before that, didn't you have? I paused, hesitating on whether I should ask. I think it was last year when I heard Tianming rambling about how his sister seemed to be dating a boyfriend. She almost brought him home to meet the parents, but for some reason, it didn't work out. Sue Mooching waited a few seconds, and seeing I wasn't continuing, asked proactively, "Have what?" I steeled myself. Since we were already here, I might as well ask clearly. Don't you have a boyfriend? You, coming out to socialize with me like this, your boyfriend doesn't have an opinion? I regretted it as soon as I asked. Why did that question sound like I was jealously prying into her privacy? Sue Mooching fell silent for a moment, as the car stopped at a red light. She turned her head to look at me, her eyes a bit complex, and then spat out 3 words, long since over. Oh, sorry. I touched my nose awkwardly. Over? When did they break up? That brat Tianming's intel is outdated. Nothing to be sorry about. The light turned green, and she looked ahead again. We weren't a good match, so we split. The atmosphere in the car suddenly became subtly quiet. I racked my brain, trying to find a new topic to break the silence. Where are we going anyway? I looked at the traffic flowing outside the window, just making conversation. Didn't you want to socialize? There was a faint trace of teasing in Sue Mooching's tone. Taking you to the movies. To shift your focus so you weren't always thinking about watching those videos. And having wild thoughts. I wanted to explain, but I didn't know how to defend myself. But watching a movie? That was unexpected. I thought she was going to drag me straight to the park for a run or to a clinic for acupuncture. What movie are we seeing? I was getting interested. It had been a long time since I'd been to a cinema. You decide. She handed her phone over as she spoke. The screen was already unlocked to the ticket booking app interface. I don't watch them often, so I'm not familiar with what's showing recently. I took the phone, feeling a bit flattered. Letting me pick? This treatment wasn't bad. I looked down and scrolled through the screen. There were quite a few recent releases. There was a sci-fi blockbuster that probably had good effects, and a suspense thriller that seemed to have great reviews. I hesitated between the two. Just as I was staring at the screen, torn over what to choose, the display suddenly went dark and locked itself. It's locked. I instinctively tapped the screen with my finger. No reaction. It demanded a passcode. Password, I said, turning to Sue Mooching. Looking straight ahead, she rattled off a string of numbers. 110509. My finger hovered over the screen, pausing for a moment. That number. Why did it sound so familiar? As I punched it in out of muscle memory, I asked half-jokingly, this password. Is it your ex-boyfriend's birthday? As soon as the words left my mouth, I wanted to slap myself. Why did I have to bring that up again? Entry complete. The screen unlocked. Sue Mooching suddenly turned to look at me. A hint of a smile seemed to flicker in her eyes, but it vanished instantly. In a calm tone, she said, Actually, no, it isn't. And if we're really getting into it, this password actually has something to do with you. With me? I was even more confused. 110,509? What did that mean? My birthday is November 15th. That doesn't match. What's it got to do with me? My curiosity was piqued. But Sue Mooching decided to keep me guessing, turning back around. Figure it out yourself. I pouted, mulling over the numbers while continuing to browse movies. Finally, I chose a suspense thriller. It felt more appropriate for the current mood. After selecting the showtime and seats, I handed the phone back to her. All set. A thriller. Yeah, heard the plot is tight. A real brain burner, I said. All right. She took the phone without further questions. When we arrived at the mall cinema, Sue Mooching told me to find a place to sit while she picked up the tickets. A moment later, she returned not only with the tickets, but also holding a huge bucket of popcorn and 2 Cokes. Staring at the bucket of popcorn, which was nearly the size of my head, I was startled and hurriedly waved my hands. No, Dr. Sue, that's way too big. I can't finish that, and besides, it's unhealthy. Sue Mooching ignored my refusal. She pinched a piece of popcorn between her fingers and held it up to my lips. Her movement was so natural, it was as if she'd practiced it 1,000 times. I'm here to... Me? Wasn't this a bit too intimate? Looking at her fingers right in front of my face and that round kernel of popcorn, my heart inexplicably skipped a beat. I froze for 2 seconds, but under her calm gaze, I felt compelled by some mysterious force to open my mouth and eat it. The flavors of milk and caramel melted on my tongue. It was actually quite sweet. I want bubble tea, too. Before I'd even swallow the popcorn, I pushed my luck, pointing at the milk tea shop nearby. Coke has nothing on the joy of bubble tea. Sue Mooching glanced at me, but didn't say a word. She shoved the popcorn bucket into my arms, turned around, and walked straight toward the tea shop. Hey, I want taro bobo. 30% sugar. I hurriedly shouted at her back. She didn't break stride, so I wasn't sure if she heard me. Clutching the giant bucket of popcorn, I found a corner to sit down, muttering to myself. Sue Mooching seems really weird today. First she agrees to a movie, then buys popcorn, and even feeds me? Doesn't she usually hate this kind of junk food? Is this part of her so-called health intervention? Give me a taste of sugar before hitting me with the bitter pill? When she returned with 2 cups of tea, I took mine and checked. Sure enough, it was taro bobo, 30% sugar. We went in and found our seats. Just as I expected, the place was packed, mostly with couples. Sue Mooching and I were seated toward the back, with the popcorn bucket perched on the armrest between us. The movie started, and the plot was indeed intense. I reached for popcorn every now and then, occasionally brushing against Sue Mooching's hand as she reached out at the same time. The first time it happened, I retracted my hand as if I'd been electrocuted, waiting for her to finish before grabbing mine. But after a few more collisions, I got used to it. Sometimes, I'd even deliberately snatch the biggest kernel right out her hand. Every time I succeeded, Sue Mooching would let out a soft chuckle. then casually reach for another one as if nothing had happened. I thought to myself, truly a doctor, such stable emotions, such a good temper. If this were Su Tianming, we'd have started a fistfight by now. Halfway through the movie, there was a scene where the male lead and a supporting actress were engaging in some ambiguous flirtation. The atmosphere was getting thick. I was just getting engrossed when I caught a glimpse of the couple to my left. I didn't know when it started, but they were already wrapped around each other, making out. Cough, cough, cough. I nearly choked on a tapioca pearl. I just sucked up and hurriedly covered my mouth. Su Muqing turned her head and gently patted my back twice. Leaning in a little closer, she lowered her voice and asked, "Are you okay?" I shook my head, finally managing to catch my breath. I looked up, wanting to make a crack to her about the couple next to us. But as my gaze drifted past her, I happened to spot the couple on her right. They had started kissing too. I instantly felt the temperature of my face skyrocketing. I stiffly turned my head to look straight ahead. Holy cow, a couple in a row in front had their heads leaning together too. I felt like a third was suddenly thrown into a pile of couples, and a particularly high wattage one at that. I felt uncomfortable all over, feeling like I was about to start smoking in the darkness. What was going on? It wasn't Valentine's Day. Why was the place filled with CPR scenes? I couldn't hold it in anymore. I slowly leaned towards Su Muqing, cupped my hand over my mouth, and whispered a complaint. My God, what is wrong with these people? Is today some kind of kissing anniversary? Why is everyone making out? Su Muqing lowered her head and leaned in too. Her hair brushed lightly against my ear. It tickled a little. Mimicking my whisper, she murmured faintly in my ear, because they probably wanted a kiss. Her warm breath drifted into my ear, carrying a faint scent, something like disinfectant mixed with a hint of fresh sweetness. Combined with the meaning of her words, my face went boom. I turned completely red, and I could feel the heat spreading all the way down to the base of my neck. I jerked back, pressing myself tightly against the seat back. My heart pounded wildly, nearly leaping out of my throat. Su Muqing, on the other hand, calmly sat up straight and went back to watching the screen, as if she hadn't just dropped that bombshell. I barely registered the second half of the movie. My mind was filled with her scent when she leaned close, and those words, they probably wanted a kiss. By the time the movie ended and the lights came up, I was still out of it. Following the crowd out, Su Muqing asked me, "Do you want to walk around the mall?" I shook my head quickly, making an excuse. No, I have to go back. I still have a bug to fix in my game, and I have someone testing it tomorrow. In reality, my mind was a mess, and I just wanted to go home and have some peace and quiet. Okay, let's head back then. Su Muqing didn't press the issue. As we walked toward the elevator, she seemed to suddenly remember something and asked casually, "That independent game project you mentioned before, is that a new concept?" I was still spacing out and answered subconsciously, "Huh? Oh yeah, it's a new project." Wait, I stopped dead in my tracks, standing there with my mouth open, staring at her blankly. How did she know I was making an indie game? I don't think I ever told her the details, did I? I only mentioned to my mom once that I work in games. I never discussed the specifics. And my social media is full of food, fun, or screenshots from other games. I've never mentioned I was developing an indie game. Su Muqing stopped too, looking at my dumbfounded expression, and explained, "You shared a concept art on your moments last year, forgot? Even though you deleted it pretty quickly." My brain spun, desperately trying to recall. It seems that did happen. In the middle of last year, I finally finished a piece of concept art. In my excitement, I shared it to my moments, but not long after, I set it to private. Later, I felt it was too embarrassing, so I deleted it quickly. She saw it. When did she look at my moments? And she remembered it until now. I don't really like exposing the details of my work to people I know in real life, especially something like this, still in the exploration phase with an uncertain future. It always feels a bit shameful. I guess I did post that. I glossed over it vaguely, then quickly took a few steps to duck into the elevator, changing the subject stiffly. So, Su, what does your clinic usually open after the new year? Su Muqing walked slowly into the elevator, stood beside me, and glanced at me. That look seemed to see right through my little anxious thoughts, but she didn't call me out. She just answered calmly. "The clinic usually opens on the 7th. "Oh, that's pretty early," I replied dryly. My eyes were glued to the changing numbers on the elevator display, wishing I could fly out of there immediately. When the elevator reached the first floor and the doors opened, I charged out first, nearly colliding with people outside. Sue Mooching followed behind me, her pace as leisurely as ever. We walked to the parking lot and got in the car. I didn't say much the whole way, not until she dropped me off downstairs at my place. I unbuckled my seatbelt and said, "Thank you, Dr. Sue. Drive safe." Then I quickly opened the door, jumped out, and practically ran into the building entrance. Back in my room, I closed the door, leaned against it, and let out a long sigh. What on earth was with today? What was with the password? And why did she remember the content of my moments? And that sentence in the movie theater, did she mean what I think she meant? I shook my head, deciding to stop dwelling on all that mess. Better play a game to calm my nerves. But after logging in and looking at the familiar interface, I found I couldn't focus. Sue Mooching's faint words kept echoing in my mind. "Because I wanted to kiss you," and the sensation of her hair brushing against my ear when she leaned in close. It was driving me crazy. It took half an hour before I finally managed to talk some sense into myself. I pushed those chaotic thoughts to the back of my mind, booted up the computer, and logged into the game, ready to reclaim my glory in the virtual world. Work, non-existent. The New Year holiday just ended, and the boss wasn't rushing me. So why should I be in a hurry? I'll just play a couple of rounds first. Once I started playing, I completely lost track of time. By the time my eyes felt sore and my neck stiff, and I lifted my hand to rub my wrist, a sharp, piercing pain suddenly shot up. The pain made me hiss and suck in a cold breath. I almost dropped the mouse. Damn it. I looked at my wrist, which had instantly swollen up, and my heart sank. You have got to be kidding me. Again, my tenosynovitis flared up before the new year. It hurt for days and only got better after applying medicated patches. It's only been calm for a few days, and now it's back. And it feels even more painful than last time. I quickly tried to move my fingers. Luckily, they still moved. But the moment I put any pressure on my wrist or turned it to a certain angle, the pain was excruciating. Forget using a mouse. I'd struggle to even hold a cup of water. I'm done for. I am remarkably done for. Enduring the pain, I managed to fish out my phone with one hand. After hesitating for a long while, I opened the WeChat chat with my business partner and childhood friend, Zhao Yumi. Zhao Yumi is an impatient girl. She runs her own small studio, and I outsource some of my game art to her. I snapped a photo of my swollen wrist and sent it over with a crying face emoji. "Corn, my wrist is trash again." Image. Zhao Yumi replied instantly. Lin Xiaodong, did you stay up all night gaming again? Me? No. I swear. I just played for a little bit. Zhao Yumi, you played a little bit, and it ended up like this? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? Let me tell you, we have to show the demo to the investors next week, and you drop the ball at a critical moment like this. Me? I don't want this either. It hurts like hell. It feels worse than last time. Zhao Yumi, go to the hospital now. Don't put off. Do you need me to come take you? Me? No. It's late. If you come over, it'll just be more chaotic. I can go by myself. I said that, but looking at my wrist, which was swollen like a steamed bun, I felt a wave of dread. Going to the hospital alone to register, wait in line, and see emergency care? Just thinking about it gave me a headache. Plus, it was the middle of the night. I certainly didn't dare tell my mom. But of course, you get exactly what you fear. My mom saw me right then. I braced myself and called out, "Mom." Lin Xiaodong, what are you doing? Mooching just messaged me saying your wrist is bothering you and you should be careful. What is going on with you? Were you secretly playing games again? My mom's voice was piercingly loud. Sue Mooching, how did she know? I definitely didn't say anything. Is she psychic or something? Mom, no, maybe I twisted it during the day by accident. I try to bluff my way through. Twisted it? Don't lie to me. Mooching is a doctor. Don't you think she can tell? Hurry up. Go to the hospital right now. Don't wait until it swells up, even worse tomorrow. My mom didn't bite at all. Mom, look at the time. The ER is crowded. I'll just go to the community clinic tomorrow morning. No, you have to go now. Wait, I'll have Mooching. Mooching said if it's convenient for you, she can drive you to the hospital. She just finished up at the clinic and hasn't gone far. Sue Mooching, she's taking me. My first reaction was to refuse. Absolutely not. We just parted ways not long ago, and now she has to see me in this pathetic state? It's too embarrassing. No, no. Mom, really, let's not trouble mooching. I can handle it myself. I said quickly. Handle it yourself. My foot. Stop talking nonsense. I'm calling mooching right now. You get ready and go wait downstairs. My mom didn't give me any chance to refuse and went straight to make the call. I looked at my swollen, throbbing wrist, wanting to cry, but having no tears. What a mess. A few minutes later, my phone rang again. It was an unknown number. I picked up and heard Sue Mooching's cool, clear voice. Come downstairs. I'm here. What could I say? Under my mother's watchful eye, I had no choice but to throw on my coat. Grabbing my insurance card and phone, I went downstairs, grimacing in pain. Sure enough, Sue Mooching's car was parked downstairs. She rolled down the window and looked at the awkward way I was cradling my right hand. Her brows furrowed slightly. Get in. I opened the door and slid into the passenger seat. Like a child caught doing something wrong, I didn't dare look at her. Does it hurt a lot? She asked as she started the car. It's all right, I said, trying to save face. She didn't say anything else and focused on driving. There was little traffic at night, so we arrived at the hospital ER very quickly. Registration, queuing, waiting for a number. Sue Mooching stayed by my side the whole time. She didn't say much, but her presence was impossible to ignore. When it was my turn, the ER doctor, a middle-aged man, squeezed my wrist and asked how I'd injured it. I stammered that it might be from using the computer too long. Speaking from experience, the doctor said it looked like an acute flare-up of tenosynovitis and asked if I wanted an X-ray to rule out a fracture. Sue Mooching spoke up from the side, her tone very professional. Based on palpation, the bones are fine. The limited range of motion and pain points are located at the tendon sheath. These are typical signs of tenosynovitis. The doctor glanced at Sue Mooching. Likely realizing she knew what she was talking about, his attitude softened a bit. Are you a family member? I was just about to say no, but Sue Mooching had already calmly replied, I'm his friend. I'm also a doctor. Oh, a colleague. The doctor smiled and turned to me. Then you really have to follow the doctor's orders. For tenosynovitis, the acute phase requires rest and immobilization. I'll prescribe some analgesic and anti-inflammatory patches. Remember to apply ice when you get back. It's best to wear a wrist brace for support. The most important thing is, don't use this hand for a while. Don't use it? I make games. How am I supposed to draw or write code without my hand? I couldn't help asking, Doctor, roughly how long will it take to heal? Can I use it as soon as it stops hurting? Before the doctor could speak, Sue Mooching suddenly cut in with a cold voice. He forgets the pain as soon as the wound heals. Doctor, don't waste your breath on him. If he were capable of listening, he wouldn't be in the ER in the middle of the night. Me? Could you leave me with a shred of dignity? The doctor was amused. As he wrote out the prescription, he said, It's a good thing to have a doctor friend supervising you, young man. You must follow the medical advice. Otherwise, it's very troublesome if it becomes a recurring issue. I shut my mouth resentfully. After getting the medicine and walking out of the ER, I felt a bit down. Not just because of the pain, but because of work. If I couldn't submit the demo, the investment might fall through. On the way back, my mom called to ask how things were going. Sue Mooching briefly explained the situation to her. I heard my mom sigh with relief on the other end, and then she started rambling. Mooching, I'm so sorry to trouble you, especially so late at night. Oh, right. Ching Ching's hand. If you use your TCM methods, would it heal faster? Sue Mooching drove on and answered in a flat tone. Yes, acupuncture would be more effective. My mom instantly perked up. Acupuncture is great. Chung Chung, starting tomorrow, you go to Mooching's place for acupuncture. Do you hear me? The moment I heard the word acupuncture, the hair on my arms stood up. The terror of being poked with needles by Grandpa, Sue, when I had a fever as a child instantly flooded my mind. Those long, thin needles looked terrifying. I'm not going. I immediately objected. Sticking on the patches is enough. Is that up to you? My mom raised her voice. You have to go. Mooching, keep an eye on him for me. If he doesn't go, tell me. Sue Mooching glanced at me through the rearview mirror, her look clearly saying, You can't escape. I leaned back in the seat in despair, feeling like my life was bleak. After hanging up, the car fell silent again. I watched the neon lights rushing backward outside the window and sighed. Sue Mooching suddenly asked, Worried about work? How can I not be? I said sullenly. If I don't submit the demo, the investment we negotiated might disappear. The boss had even promised to give me a raise this year. How much of a raise? Triple. I perked up a bit at the mention of this. It's just, I might have to work overtime a lot. Su Muching was silent for a few seconds, then gave a soft humph. Then should I congratulate Mr. Lin on getting his wish? It seems you plan to complete your great gaming legacy, even while teetering on the edge of sudden death. Her words choked me up so bad I couldn't catch my breath for a moment. Her tongue was way too sharp. What do you know? I snapped, feeling a bit humiliated and angry. If I don't work my butt off to make money, how am I supposed to survive? Does food cost nothing? Su Muching turned and glared at me. She was so angry that it felt like she was glaring her double eyelids right off. She looked at me for several seconds, but ultimately said nothing and turned back to focus on driving. However, her grip on the steering wheel seemed to tighten. The air pressure in the car instantly dropped. I didn't dare make another sound either, staring blankly at my own wrist. When we arrived downstairs at my place, I whispered my thanks and got ready to get out of the car. Su Muching suddenly spoke, her tone softening slightly. Remember to apply the patch. Tomorrow. If the pain is severe, come to the clinic. I mumbled and no, pulled open the car door, and practically fled back home. Closing the door, I looked at the table full of gaming equipment and the unfinished demo, then down at my swollen, throbbing wrist. My mind was a mess. The pressure from work, the pain in my wrist, plus Su Muching's ambiguous words and looks. It all made me feel suffocated. I took out the medicated patch the doctor had prescribed. Clumsily using one hand and my teeth to tear open the packaging, I slapped it onto my wrist. A wave of coolness provided temporary relief from the burning pain. My phone lit up. It was a message from Zhao Yumi. How did it go? Did you go to hospital? Is it serious? What about the demo? Staring at the barrage of questions, I ran my fingers through my hair in frustration. What now? I wanted to know the answer to that, too. I typed a reply. I went. Tenosynovitis. The doctor ordered rest. I can't use my hand. As for the demo, I'll figure something out. Zhao Yumi sent a string of ellipses, followed by, just heal up first. I'll try to stall the investors. Sigh, honestly, I knew what she left unsaid. I hated myself, too. How'd I let my health get this bad? That night, my sleep was fitful, my wrist throbbing in waves. My dreams were filled with Su Muching chasing me down with long silver needles, and the investors saying coldly, "We don't consider teams that can't even finish a demo." I woke up the next morning to pain. My wrist was even more swollen, and the swelling and aching had spread halfway up my forearm. Just as I was fretting over my wrist, my phone pinged. It was a WeChat message from Su Muching. Did you apply the patch? How does your wrist feel? I stared at the message with mixed feelings. Was she just being a doctor? Or did she actually care about me? I hesitated for a moment before replying. I did. It still hurts. Su Muching, come over for acupuncture today. It works faster. I stared at the word acupuncture, my finger hovering over the screen, unable to press down. It was as if my finger had frozen solid just looking at those characters. Go. Just thinking about those long, thin needles made my skin crawl. Don't go. I wouldn't be able to handle the earful from my mom. My stomach was knotting up with indecision when the phone vibrated again. Su Muching, scared of needles? I typed a stubborn reply. Who's scared? I'm busy. I have work to finish. Su Muching, is work more important than your hand? If you ruin your hand, you won't be able to do any work in the future. That hit a nerve. The demo was hanging over my head like a guillotine, but my hand had gone on strike. Although Zhao Yumi had promised to buy time, how long could she stall? The investors weren't exactly pushovers. I tugged at my hair in frustration. Another message from Su Muching popped up. Grandpa left something for you before he passed. Don't you want to see it? Grandpa Su? I froze. Grandpa Su was Su Muching's grandfather, a famous TCM doctor in our neighborhood. I was a sickly child and had troubled him often. When he passed away last year, I was out of town. I didn't even get to see him one last time, and that regret had always weighed on me. Grandpa Su left me something? Curiosity instantly outweighed my fear of needles. Gritting my teeth, I replied, What is it? Su Muching, you'll know when you get here. The clinic is quiet in the afternoon. Just come straight to me. Well, looks like I have no choice now. For Grandpa Su's keepsake, I'd brave it. That afternoon, I dawdled my way to Sue Mooching's clinic. It had an antique-style sign, and as soon as I entered, I was greeted by the familiar scent of medicinal herbs. There were few people in the waiting area. Sue Mooching's assistant, a young girl, came up to greet me. "Mr. Lin, right? Dr. Sue is in the treatment room. She said for you to go right in." I thanked her and walked in, knowing the way well. Inside the treatment room, Sue Mooching had just finished removing needles from an elderly patient and was giving him aftercare instructions. She was wearing a white coat and a face mask, revealing only her calm eyes. She looked incredibly professional and incredibly distant. Once the old man left, she looked at me and pointed to the treatment bed nearby. "Seat." I edged over and asked nervously, "What did Grandpa Sue leave for me?" Sue Mooching unhurriedly organized her acupuncture kit and sanitized her hands, not even looking up. "Treatment first. I'll show you when we're done." "Hey, aren't you just keeping me in suspense?" I protested. "Think I'm lying to you?" She finally glanced up at me. "When have I ever lied to you?" Well, she actually hadn't. Sue Mooching might have a sharp tongue sometimes, but she was always reliable in her words and actions. I deflated and resignedly extended my wrist. Fine. Just stick me and get it over with. Promise me it won't hurt." Sue Mooching ignored my nonsense. She walked over, her fingers resting on my wrist to locate the acupuncture point. Her hands were a bit cold. I closed my eyes in nervousness, sensing her other hand bringing something closer. "Relax." Her voice was low. I felt a tiny, barely perceptible prick on my skin. It was lighter than a mosquito bite, and then nothing much after that. "Is it done?" I peeked open one eye. That was just the first needle. Sue Mooching's tone was flat. Her hands didn't stop moving as she deftly inserted 2 more needles into my wrist and forearm. It really didn't hurt much, just a vague soreness and numbness. I let out a sigh of relief. It seemed her technique was actually good, and I had scared myself for nothing. Once the needles were in, she told me to sit still and left the room for a moment. When she returned, she was holding a simple, vintage-looking wooden box. It was dark brown and completely unadorned. "Here." She handed the box to me. I took it carefully. The box wasn't heavy and had a sliding lid. I gently slid it open. Inside, there were no glittering treasures, just a few old items that looked like they had seen some years. Right on top was a thread-bound booklet with yellowing pages. Written neatly in brush calligraphy on the cover were 3 characters: Lin Xiaodong. That is my name. My heart started beating a little faster. I picked up the booklet and opened it. The first page had a date. I recognized the vigorous, powerful handwriting. It was Grandpa Sue's. It recorded exactly how old I was, down to the month, when I had a fever and cough, his visit to my home to treat me, and the prescription he used. I flipped through page after page, from my stumbling toddler years to my rebellious adolescence. Every time I got sick, Grandpa Sue had made a record of it. The handwriting went from the neat strength of the early days to becoming slightly tremulous later on. But the records continued until I was about 20. For the records after I turned 20, the handwriting changed. It became Sue Mooching's elegant yet slightly sharp script. The entries were fewer, but whenever I came home for the holidays, if I went to see her grandfather for a minor ailment, or if my mom mentioned to her that I wasn't feeling well, she would make a brief note of it. The most recent entry read, clearly, "Spring Festival, wrist strain, tenosynovitis." I clutched the thin yet heavy booklet, my fingers trembling slightly. I never knew that Grandpa Sue and later Sue Mooching had been silently keeping watch over my health like this for so many years. Beneath the booklet was a small tin box with its paint almost entirely faded. Inside were a few colorful fruit candies that had melted and stuck together. I recognized them. They were my favorite when I was little, the kind Mom wouldn't let me eat too often. Grandpa Sue would always secretly slip me a few. Next to the candy tin was a red, somewhat worn amulet. It was embroidered with the word peace and looked like it had been obtained from a temple. But it seemed there had never been a chance to give it to me. My nose suddenly stung sharply and my vision blurred. I quickly lowered my head, not wanting Sue Mooching to see me looking so pathetic. Grandpa Sue. He had always cared for me like his own grandson. Even Sue Mooching, though she never said it out loud, was continuing that care in her own way. I thought of Grandpa Sue passing away last year. I was out of town and had lost my phone, so I didn't get the news in time. I hadn't made it back to send him off on his final journey. An immense wave of guilt and sorrow washed over me. Ahem. I cleared my throat hard, trying to suppress the lump forming there, but my voice was still raspy. Thanks for keeping these for me. Sue Mooching looked at me, her tone seeming to soften slightly. Grandpa asked me to. He said you tend to overthink things and was afraid you'd feel like an outsider. So he told me to give these to you when I had the chance. I wasn't an outsider. Grandpa, Sue never treated me like an outsider. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I grabbed the box and bolted for the door with my head down, completely forgetting that I still had needles stuck in my wrist. Lin Xiaodong. Sue Mooching shouted from behind me. I froze in my tracks, realized what I was doing, and awkwardly turned back. Sue Mooching didn't say a word. She just efficiently removed the needles. Thank you. I whispered my thanks, clutching the box, and left the clinic as if I were fleeing a crime scene. Back home, I placed the box on the table and stared at its contents for a long time. My heart felt like a spilled spice rack, a mix of emotions I couldn't quite name. My mom wandered in. Seeing me red-eyed and staring at an old box, she was startled. Oh, what's going on? Did Mooching bully you? No. I shook my head and closed the box. Mom, Grandpa Sue. He was always really good to me. Well, of course. My mom instantly perked up. Old man Sue was such a wonderful person. And Mooching is just like her grandfather. She's got a good heart. Look at you. She cares so much about you, and yet you're still loafing around. My mom started seizing every opportunity to praise Sue Mooching again. Every word she spoke was implied to be part of her matchmaking efforts. In the past, I would have impatiently cut her off. But today I stayed silent. My mind was a mess. The gratitude and guilt I felt toward Grandpa Sue and regarding Sue Mooching. I suddenly couldn't figure it out anymore. Was she being good to me because of Grandpa Sue's request? Or was it because of something else? I didn't dare let my thoughts go there. That night, for the first time ever, I didn't play any video games. I lay down early but tossed and turned, unable to sleep. My wrists still felt sore and numb from the acupuncture, but the swelling pain had definitely subsided significantly. My phone screen lit up. It was a message from Sue Mooching. How does your wrist feel? Don't get it wet. Remember to come in for the poultice tomorrow. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the reply box for a long time. In the end, I only typed 3 words. Got it. Putting down my phone, I stared at the ceiling. Sue Mooching was just like her acupuncture needles, seemingly plain and ordinary, yet she could always precisely pierce the softest part of my heart. But there was too much standing between us. She was an accomplished doctor. I was someone who couldn't even handle his own job. She was Tianming's sister. We knew each other too well. Besides, regarding her kindness toward me, how much was out of duty and how much was out of... I sighed and buried my face in the pillow. Forget it. Stop flattering yourself. Let's just heal the injury and get the demo done first. Otherwise, never mind Sue Mooching. Even I would look down on myself. My wrist really felt much better after the acupuncture. At least the piercing pain was gone, though it still felt a bit sore and weak. I also dutifully applied the medicinal patch Sue Mooching prescribed. I changed it once a day, not daring to slack off. After all, the demo was weighing on me like a mountain. If my hand wasn't working, everything else was futile. Zhao Yumi had managed to stabilize the investors for now, but she couldn't buy me much time. I was so anxious I was getting canker sores, but I could only clumsily type with one hand. I worked on the game script and design documents. My efficiency was atrociously low. Sue Mooching, however, kept her word and truly treated me as a priority care patient. Every now and then, she'd message to ask, "Did you change the patch? How does the wrist feel? Don't strain it." If I was slow to reply, she'd call me immediately. Her tone was strictly professional, like a doctor on rounds. I had to report everything in detail, feeling like an elementary school student under supervision. That afternoon, I was struggling with a line of code when my phone rang again. I picked it up without even looking, my tone a bit snappy. "Hello? Who is it?" "I am Buse." There was a 2-second silence on the other end before Sue Mooching's calm, ripple-less voice came through. "Busy enough that you don't even have time to answer the phone? It seems your wrist is fully healed, then." I instantly withered and quickly switched to a flattering tone. "Oh wow, it's Dr. Sue. Sorry, so sorry. I was just battling with this code and didn't check the caller ID. My wrist is much, much better. Your skills are truly top-notch. I gave a thumbs up to the empty air, even though she couldn't see it. MN. Su Muqing grunted an acknowledgement and got straight to the point. I'm off today and passing by your place. I'm bringing you some herbal decoction to improve blood circulation. I'll be there around 7. Huh? No need to go to such trouble, DR. Su, I'm fine with just the patches. I attempted to resist. The patches treat the symptoms. The decoction treats the root cause. Unless you want lingering issues, be a good boy and drink it. Her tone allowed for no argument. She hung up immediately after speaking, giving me zero chance to refuse. I looked at my phone, which was now buzzing with a busy signal, and sighed. Great. DR. Sue's consultation hour was happening again tonight. At 7 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang right on time. I shuffled over in my slippers to open the door. Su Muqing was standing outside. She was holding a thermos container, looking as cool and aloof as ever. Come on in. I stepped aside to let her enter. The room was as messy as always. Snack bags and empty beverage bottles were piled up next to the computer. This room served as my workspace, which I rented separately. Su Muqing's gaze swept around the room. It finally landed on my mug, which was emitting a suspicious odor. Inside was a dark concoction I had just brewed in an attempt to stay awake. A mix of God knows how many types of tea leaves and goji berries. This is your idea of health tea? She walked over, picked up the mug, and sniffed it. Her brow furrowed imperceptibly. It's for staying awake. The taste is a bit weird, but it works okay. I felt a bit guilty. Su Muqing placed the thermos on my small coffee table, which barely had room for anything. She opened the lid, and a strong scent of Chinese medicine wafted out. Drink this, and pour that beverage of yours down the drain. I stared at the jet-black medicinal liquid in the thermos, and my face scrunched up in agony. This whole thing? I have to drink it all. What else? Su Muqing looked at me. It's more effective while it's hot. Resigned to my fate, I picked up the insulated container. I tested the temperature. It was still quite hot. I had no choice but to blow on it as I took small, tentative sips. The liquid was bitter as hell, 100 times worse than my own dark concoctions. Su Muqing sat on the small sofa nearby, watching me grimace as I downed the medicine. She didn't say a word, and the atmosphere grew delightfully quiet in a subtle way. To break the awkwardness, I tried to make conversation. So, DR, Su, about my hand. How long do you think it'll take to fully recover? Su Muqing thought for a moment. That depends on how cooperative you are. If you rest well and take your medicine on time, 2 to 3 weeks at the earliest. But if you want to end up with permanent damage that aches whenever it rains, feel free to keep pushing yourself right now. 2 to 3 weeks. I almost jumped out of my seat. What about my demo? The investors won't wait that long. The job belongs to your boss, but your body belongs to you. Su Muqing's tone was flat, but her meaning was crystal clear. I felt a bit irritable. I know the logic, but Sai, you don't understand. This opportunity is really important to me. This could be my big break. Su Muqing looked at me and suddenly asked, that ex-girlfriend of yours, if she knew you were wrecking your health for work like this, what would she think? I froze, not processing it immediately. Ex-girlfriend? Which ex-girlfriend? I hadn't dated anyone in ages. Su Muqing prompted, the one from college from the foreign languages department, the one who went abroad. I searched my memory for a good while, before recalling there was indeed such a person. But I had practically forgotten her face and name. I waved my hand dismissively. Oh, we lost touch ages ago. She probably has kids old enough to run errands by now. Let her think whatever she wants. What do I care? Su Muqing said, oh. She didn't ask any more about the ex-girlfriend, but instead switched to a different question. Then, do you have someone you like right now? This question was even more sudden than the one about my ex. Caught completely off guard, my heart skipped a beat. Do I have someone I like? I subconsciously looked at Su Muqing. She was looking down, adjusting the lid of the thermos. Her profile was soft, her eyelashes long. I opened my mouth as many images flashed through my mind. The focused look on her face when she took my pulse. The warmth of her breath when she whispered in my ear at the movie theater. The fact that she remembered the game's screenshot I shared on my feed. The box grandpa Su left behind. Do I like her? I didn't know. Or rather, I didn't dare to know. We were too familiar. She was Tianming's older sister, Grandpa Su's granddaughter. She was good to me, probably just out of responsibility and our family's long-standing friendship. I was just a loser who couldn't even take care of himself. What right did I have to like her? I froze, stammering for a long time before finally giving up and blurting out, I like my games, my code, my 2D waifus. Is that good enough? Su Muqing raised her head and glanced at me. Her look was complicated. It seemed like disappointment, yet also as if she had expected that answer all along. She didn't say anything else, just gave a soft hum. The atmosphere plunged back into that suffocating silence. I just wanted to finish this damn medicine as fast as possible. I managed to force down most of the container, my tongue numb from the bitterness. I set the thermos down, sticking out my tongue and panting. Su Muqing suddenly stood up and walked over to me. Give me your hand. Let me check how it's healing. I obediently extended my hand. She held my wrist, her fingers pressing lightly on the previous sore spot. Does it still hurt here? It's still a bit sore, I answered honestly. She applied a little more pressure, massaging the acupoints. It felt a bit sore, but in a comfortable way. With my head lowered, I could smell the faint scent of disinfectant mixed with herbs on her. It wasn't unpleasant. In fact, it was somewhat reassuring. Dr. Su, I suddenly remembered something and couldn't help but ask. You mentioned before that your password, 110509, had something to do with me. What exactly does it mean? I've racked my brains and still can't figure it out. Su Muqing's hands paused for a second. Then she resumed the massage, her tone betraying no emotion. Figure out yourself. I can't figure it out. I was getting a bit anxious. Can't you give me a hint? Su Muqing ignored me, focusing intently on my wrist. After quite a while, she finally let go and said, the recovery is going okay, but you still need a rest. I'll bring you another dose of the herbal decoction tomorrow. She picked up the thermos and prepared to leave. I walked her to the door, the password still weighing on my mind. Refusing to give up, I asked one more time, you really can't tell me? Su Muqing stood at the doorway and looked back at me, the light from the street lamp outlining her silhouette. She fell silent for a few seconds before speaking faintly. It was the day you skipped class to go to the internet cafe for the first time, got caught by my grandfather, and were marched back home. Me? Huh. 110,509? May 9th, 2011? I racked my brain trying to recall. It seems there really was such a thing. Back then, I was in middle school and addicted to games. One afternoon, I skipped class to run to the internet cafe. As luck would have it, I ran right into Grandpa Su, who was going to the pharmacy next door. But that's ancient history from so many years ago. How does she still remember? And she uses this as a password? Before I could recover from the shock, Su Muqing had already turned and gone downstairs. I stood at the door, staring at the empty stairwell, my mind a tangled mess. Su Muqing's answer about the password kept me tossing and turning all night. May 9th, 2011, the day I got caught by her grandpa skipping class to go to the internet cafe. What kind of anniversary is that? That's way too embarrassing. Why would she use that as a password? Is it to constantly remind herself that she once caught me making a mistake? Or does this date have some other meaning to her? I thought until my head was about to explode, but I couldn't come up with a reason. I woke up the next day with dark circles under my eyes. The swelling and pain in my wrist had indeed subsided a lot, but it was still sore and weak. I couldn't use a mouse yet. In the afternoon, sure enough, Su Muqing came over again carrying the thermal container. This time I learned my lesson and took the container proactively. I pinched my nose and downed it in one go. Although it was still so bitter it made me grimace, I didn't dare complain. After drinking the medicine, I stuck out my tongue in distress. Su Muqing looked at me, then suddenly took a small box out of the canvas bag she carried and handed it to me. What's this? More medicine. I looked at the box warily. Open it and see, Su Muqing said. I took the box doubtfully and opened it. Inside wasn't some ointment or pill, but a wrist brace. But it wasn't that ugly white elastic bandage from the hospital. This brace was dark gray. On the side, there was a cool pattern of a cross gear and wrench embroidered in simple black lines, and the material felt comfortable to the touch. Whoa! My eyes lit up as I took it out to examine it closely. This brace is awesome. Way cooler than the one the hospital gave out. Where'd you buy it? Custom made. Sue Mooching's tone was still flat, but there seemed to be a trace of an imperceptible smile in her eyes. Didn't a certain gaming god always complain that the wrist braces on Taobao were too ugly and affected the feel of his coating? I froze for a moment, then remembered. It seems that once, when my wrist first started hurting, I complained about it on my moments. I said those medical braces were ugly and tight, and uncomfortable after wearing them for a long time. I just said it casually, yet she actually remembered, and went out of her way to get one custom-made. I felt something indescribable in my heart, like I had been gently bumped by something. I stroked the exquisite embroidery on the brace, but my mouth habitually went into cheeky mode. Custom-made? Must be expensive, right? Dr. Sue, I don't have money to pay you. I count as unemployed right now. I'm dirt poor. Sue Mooching looked at me, raised an eyebrow, and suddenly took a step towards me. I subconsciously shrank back, my back pressing against the computer chair. She didn't come any closer, just leaned over slightly. Her gaze leveled with mine, and the corners of her mouth hooked up in an extremely faint arc. No money? Then how about paying off the debt in another way? Her voice wasn't loud, carrying a hint of barely there teasing, her breath almost brushing past my ear. My face whooshed into a burn, and my heart began to pound disappointingly fast. What way? I heard my own voice crack a bit, and some not-so-wholesome images instantly flashed through my mind. Images not suitable for description. The rest requires a VIP membership to view. Sue Mooching straightened up, returning to that cold and aloof appearance, as if she hadn't been the one to say that sentence just now. For example, be obedient, take your medicine on time, and heal your hand quickly. Me? Playing me? I held back until my face was red and neck thick, but couldn't really get angry, so I just indignantly put the brace on my wrist. The size was just right, the support felt great without being too tight, and that cool pattern was exposed right on the outside. Oomph, I guess you have some taste. I muttered, but inside I was actually pretty delighted. This brace was definitely way more comfortable than those stark white ones. To hide my awkwardness, I turned around wanting to pour a glass of water. Just as I turned, the screen of the graphics tablet I had left on the computer desk lit up. On it were a few rough sketches of new game character designs I had forced myself to draw with my still functional left hand last night, when I couldn't sleep. One of them depicted a female doctor character wearing something like a modified tang suit with a high ponytail. Her expression was cold, and she was holding a few silver needles in her hand. Sue Mooching's gaze swept over the screen and paused. My heart skipped a beat, and I darted forward. I tried to block the screen with my body, stammering out a frantic explanation. This is just a doodle. It's an NPC design for the new game. I didn't use you as a reference. Definitely not you. Crap. That was a total dead giveaway. The female doctor's look, especially her eyes, was practically a 70 or 80% match to the woman standing right in front of me. Why did my cursed hand have to draw that? Sue Mooching ignored my panic and took 2 steps forward instead. She studied the drawing on the screen, her tone revealing neither pleasure nor anger. Oh, an NPC? And her profession is a doctor, too? Yes. The game needs a healer class. I nodded furiously. And she uses needles as weapons? Well, it's unique. This look, Sue Mooching extended a finger, gesturing towards the slightly cold eyes of the female doctor on the screen. You captured the spirit quite well. My scalp tingled. I felt like I was on the verge of social suicide. That was artistic license. Yes, artistic license. Sue Mooching turned her head to look at me. In those eyes, identical to the ones on the screen, a smile was clearly reflected this time. Lin Xiaodong. Here, I responded out of pure reflex. What are you so nervous about? She asked unhurriedly. I didn't say anything. Although, using someone's likeness without permission, shouldn't you pay some royalties? I just want to find a hole to crawl into. I'll delete it right now. As I spoke, I reached out to grab my stylus. But Sue Mooching reached out and held my wrist, the one wearing the new wrist brace. Her hand was slightly cool. I'm kidding. It's a good drawing. Keep it up. She let go, turned around, and picked up the thermos from the table. I'm leaving. Remember to apply your medicine. Keep the brace on and rest your hand. Even after the door closed, I remained frozen in place, my face burning. I looked down at the cool wrist brace on my arm, then back at the sketch of the female doctor on the screen. Sue Mooching, what exactly did she mean? She custom ordered a wrist brace for me, remembering a complaint I made in passing. She used the date I skipped class as a password, and now she was non-committal about a character I drew, which was obviously based on her. Does she maybe like me a little, too? As soon as this thought popped up, it spread like wildfire in my heart. But what if it's not that? What if she's just being a responsible doctor? Or treating me well because Grandpa Sue asked her to? I scratched my hair in frustration. Feelings are harder to figure out than debugging code. Just as I was in the middle of this intense internal struggle, my phone rang. It was Zhao Yumi. I picked up and let out a weak hello. Lin Xiaodong, why do you sound like your soul's been sucked out? Zhao Yumi's loud voice boomed through the speaker. How's the wrist? I can barely hold off the investors anymore. When can you get back to work? It's better, but I still can't use it much. I sighed. Yumi, let me ask you something. Shoot, it's just, if a guy, and someone remembers an embarrassing moment of yours from years ago and uses that date as a password, if she remembers a complaint you made in passing and secretly prepares something you really need, if she sees a drawing you made that looks like her and doesn't get angry, but says it's good, what does that mean? There was a 3-second silence on the other end, followed by an earth-shattering explosion of laughter. Ha ha ha. Lin Xiaodong, have you finally seen the light? Which deity enlightened you? Come on, spill it. Who's the girl? Do I know her? My face heated up. Aren't I talking about you? You. Just tell me what it means first. What does it mean? It means the girl is into you. Isn't that obvious? Zhao Yumi sounded exasperated at my density. You blockhead. You're so smooth when you're coding. So how is your EQ as low as the Mariana Trench? You couldn't figure that out. But we know each other too well. She's my friend's sister. Besides, she seems pretty cold to everyone. What if she's just being nice? Just being nice? If she's just being nice, how come I don't see her treating others like that? Lin Xiaodong, I'm telling you, opportunities are fleeting. If you like her, make a move. Stop dilly-dallying. Zhao Yumi pumped me up like a hot-blooded drill instructor. I didn't say I liked her. I insisted stubbornly. Oh, give me a break. If you didn't like her, would you be this conflicted? Would you be asking me about it? Hurry up and ask her out. Dinner, movie, confession, the 3-step plan. Big sis is waiting to drink at your wedding. Zhao Yumi was getting more and more excited. All right, keep it down. I'm going deaf over here. I quickly interrupted her. My wrist is still hurting. I can't work, let alone confess my feelings. Just tell me keep the investors steady for now. After hanging up, I stared at the brace on my wrist, my mind in complete chaos. Zhao Yumi sounded so certain. Could it be that Sue Mooching really has feelings for me? And what about me? I seem to like her a little too. Not the way one likes an older sister, but the way a man likes a woman. This realization made my heart race out of control again. It's over, Lin Xiaodong. You've really fallen for her. Zhao Yumi's call was like a bomb dropped in my brain, leaving me completely dazed and confused. All day long, I was restless. I couldn't write a single line of code. My mind was filled with Sue Mooching's expressionless face, and all those inscrutable actions of hers. Like her. Once that thought surfaced, there was no suppressing it. I carefully replayed every detail since our reunion. The close contact while she checked my pulse, the whispers in the movie theater. She remembered all my preferences and my embarrassing history. The custom wrist brace and that phrase, settle the debt, in other ways. The more I thought about it, the faster my heart beat. It seemed like Zhao Yumi might actually have a point. But what if I'm just flattering myself? Someone on Sue Mooching's level. She has the looks, she has the career. How could she possibly be interested in a gaming nerd like me who doesn't even have a stable job and is full of flaws? This feeling of uncertainty was agonizing. I urgently needed someone to talk to vent. The best candidate was, of course, Sue Mooching's own brother and my diehard buddy, Su Tianming. I immediately video called Su Tianming. It rang for a while before he picked up. His handsome face appeared on the screen, the background noise deafening. It sounded like a karaoke bar. Lin Xiaodong, what's up? I'm partying over here. Su Tianming shouted at the top of his lungs. Where are you? It's so loud. Singing with friends. Hurry up and speak. My turn for Lonely Warrior is coming up. I had a belly full of things to say, but looking at his face and hearing the wailing in the background, I didn't know where to start. You go find somewhere quieter first. Su Tianming muttered, so high maintenance, but still took his phone and walked out of the private room. The background noise faded a bit as he leaned against the hallway wall. All right, shoot. What's wrong? Get dumped. Or did your game account get hacked again? Pfft, don't jinx me. I spat back, lowering my voice. I want to ask you something about your sister. My sister. A curious look appeared in Su Tianming's eyes. What about my sister? Hasn't she been going over to care for you, the invalid, lately? Did she stick you with needles again? It's not about the needles. I scratched my head, finding it hard to bring up. Tianming, do you think your sister has been acting a little different towards me lately? Different? Different how? Su Tianming blinked, playing dumb. You know, like she cares about me a lot. Remembers a lot of small details about me. And she gives me gifts. I prompted. Oh, Su Tianming drawled, revealing a mischievous grin. You mean that? You know how my sister is. She's like that with all her patients, serious and responsible. Especially for a chronic case like you. Plus we're family friends, so it's only right she takes extra care of you. My heart sank halfway. Just responsibility toward a patient. Nothing else. Su Tianming leaned closer to the screen and lowered his voice. Lin Xiaodong, come clean. Do you have designs on my sister? Having my mind read like that, my face instantly flushed red, and I instinctively denied it. Who? Who has designs on her? I just thought it was weird, just asking casually. Oh, give it a rest. Su Tianming wore an I saw through you ages ago expression. You're blushing up to your ears. You're going to pretend with me? Come on, admit it. Have you fallen for my sister? Facing my bro's interrogation, my last line of defense crumbled. I sighed, deciding to just let it all out. Maybe. There's a little bit. But Tianming, isn't that ridiculous? She's your sister. And she's so perfect. Who the hell am I? How could she possibly be interested in me? Why is it impossible? Su Tianming got energized and spoke excitedly. Lin Xiaodong, have a little confidence, will you? Aside from being a slob, having a terrible sleep schedule, and an unstable job, your other qualities are pretty decent. You look presentable enough, you're good at gaming, and you can draw. Oh, right. My sister actually seems to appreciate talented people. Really? I couldn't quite believe it. Did she tell you that? Well, no. Su Tianming shook his head. But I could feel it. Have you forgotten? That comic you drew back in the day. The one about the cat? My sister actually secretly asked me about the sequel. She never admitted it out loud, but I could tell she read it. My heart skipped a beat. Spirit Cat was one of my early works. The art style was still very immature. I never imagined Su Mooching had actually read it. And let me tell you something. Su Tianming lowered his voice, acting like he was sharing a top-secret state secret. My sister broke up with her last boyfriend because she felt he lacked ambition and didn't have any drive. She likes the type who, well, is incredibly focused and passionate about the things they love. Isn't that exactly you? You can pull all-nighters for days just to make a game. His words were like a beam of light piercing through me. Su Mooching appreciated passionate people. I might be bad at other things, but my passion for games was rock solid. But I still hesitated. We're too close, practically like family. Wouldn't it be awkward if we got together? Being close is good. You know each other inside out. Su Tianming slapped his thigh. It's better than finding a stranger, right? My parents love you. They treat you like a godson. If you became my brother-in-law, they'd definitely vote yes with both hands. Brother-in-law. That word made my heart skip a beat again. But what if your sister just sees me as a younger brother? If I confess, won't we lose the friendship entirely? That would be so awkward. This was my biggest worry. Su Tianming thought for a moment and said, how about this? I'll sound her out for you. Beat around the bush a little. No. I hurriedly stopped him. Don't you dare. If she isn't interested, I'll never be able to face her again. Then what do you plan to do? Just hold it in? Have a secret crush until you're old? Su Tianming glared at me. I'll think about it. I chickened out. Think about what? Is opportunity reserved for those who are prepared? No. Opportunity is reserved for the bold. Su Tianming started brainwashing me. Look at my sister. Pretty great job. The line of guys chasing her stretches from the clinic to the train station. If you don't make a move, someone else will snatch her up. You'll be crying your eyes out then. That hit a sore spot. The thought of Sue mooching with someone else left a sour, bitter taste in my mouth. Then, what should I do? I humbly asked for guidance. Simple. Sue Tianming looked like a seasoned expert. Step 1. Create opportunities. Make more contact. Is your wrist hurting? That's a godsend. Go to her for checkups more often. Let her do acupuncture. Apply medicine. Back and forth won't feelings heat up. Step 2. Show your charm. Let her see your strengths outside of being a homebody and playing games. Like, isn't your cooking okay? Invite her to your place for a meal. Conquer her stomach with your culinary skills. Step 3. Confess at the right moment. Find a time with good atmosphere and just kiss her. Sue Tianming sounded so logical that I was stunned. Will that work? Trust me, you can't go wrong. Sue Tianming patted his chest. I've been there. If you chicken out, I'll be right behind you acting as your wingman. After hanging up the video call, I sat in front of the computer, blood pumping. Sue Tianming's words gave me a huge boost. Maybe. I really could try. Just as I was thinking that, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Sue mooching. Come to the clinic tomorrow afternoon for a follow-up. I stared at that message, my heart racing again. Wasn't this the creating opportunities Sue Tianming talked about? I took a deep breath and replied, Okay, Dr. Sue, what time do you get off work tomorrow? After the checkup, I'd like to treat you to dinner, to thank you for taking care of me lately. Message sent. I stared nervously at the screen, palms sweating. About a minute passed, though it felt like a century. Sue mooching replied, Sure. I get off at 5:30. She agreed. I almost jumped out of my chair and quickly typed back, Great. See you tomorrow. Putting down the phone, I paced around the room in excitement. Treating her to dinner. Does this count as a date? Whether it is or not, it's the first step. Lin Xiaodong, let's go. You can do this. The entire next day, I was in a state of high tension and inexplicable excitement. Facing the computer, I couldn't write a single line of code. My mind was full of rehearsals for what to say at dinner and what expressions to make. Even when Zhao Yumi called to push for progress, I just absent-mindedly brushed him off. Lin Xiaodong, something's off with you. Zhao Yumi sharply sensed my anomaly. Your voice sounds floaty. Did you find money on the street? Or win a lottery? In nothing. I quickly steadied my nerves. It's just that my wrist feels a lot better, so I'm in a good mood. Oh, save it. You're definitely hiding something from me. Did you make progress with that girl? Zhao Yumi's gossip radar was as accurate as ever. Tonight. We're having dinner together tonight, I admitted vaguely. There was silence on the other end for 2 seconds, followed by an explosion of screams from Zhao Yumi. Aha! Way to go, Lin Xiaodong. You finally got a clue. Remember what I told you. Act natural, don't be a wuss. Kiss her. I'll be waiting for the good news. After hanging up, I took a deep breath. Right, don't be a wuss. Kiss her. I went to the clinic for a follow-up that afternoon. Sue mooching was as professional and calm as always. She examined my wrist and inserted a few needles with deft movements. I was so nervous my palms were sweating, and I didn't dare look her in the eye. It's recovering well, she said as she removed the needles. But you still can't overuse it recently, especially using a mouse for long periods. Oh, okay, got it. I answered obediently, mentally calculating how to bring up the subject later. Treatment over, I dawdled while packing my things. Sue mooching also took off her white coat and changed into her own jacket. She was wearing a light-colored sweater today, making her look softer than usual. Let's go, she said. Okay. Outside the clinic, the evening breeze was a bit chilly. I rubbed my hands together and asked, Sue, what would you like to eat? My treat. Sue mooching looked at me. Whatever is fine, you decide. Just nothing too greasy. I'd already picked a place, a stylish private kitchen restaurant near my house. It was quiet, the food was good, and it was suitable for, well, talking. We arrived at the restaurant, sat down, and ordered. While waiting for the food, the atmosphere was delicately silent. I was so nervous I kept drinking water. I had rehearsed my opening line countless times in my head, but now I couldn't get a single word out. Sue mooching suddenly spoke. I jumped, startled, and nearly knocked over my water glass. Huh, what about me? Sue mooching looked at me, a hint of inquiry in her eyes. You seem particularly nervous today. Is your wrist bothering you again? No. I waved my hands hurriedly. My wrist is fine. It's something else. What is it? She pressed. Looking at her calm eyes, I steeled my heart and decided to risk it all. If I didn't say it now, I might explode. Sue, I have something I want to tell you. I put down my water glass and sat up straight, feeling like my heart was about to leap out of my throat. Sue Mooching didn't speak. She just looked at me quietly, waiting for me to continue. First of all, thank you. Thank you for taking such good care of me these past few weeks. Treating me, bringing me medicine, and giving me this wrist guard. I pointed to the cool wrist guard on my wrist, trying to make the opening sound natural. You're welcome. It's my job. Sue Mooching's tone remained flat. Actually, I also wanted to say, I plucked up my courage and looked up to meet her eyes. Sue Mooching's gaze flickered slightly, but she didn't interrupt me. I took a deep breath and sped up my speech, as if reciting a script. Sue Mooching, I like you. Not the kind of like for Tianming's sister, but the kind of man feels for a woman. I don't know when it started, maybe a long time ago, but I never dared to think in that direction before. I felt I wasn't good enough for you. You're so outstanding, and I stalled, forgetting all the words I had prepared, leaving only the most direct thoughts. Anyway, I just like you. I want to be with you. Do you think I have a shot? After saying all that, I felt like all the strength had been drained from my body. My face was hot enough to fry an egg, and my eyes were glued to the tabletop, afraid to see her reaction. My heart was pounding so hard I could almost hear it. A long silence fell over the table. I couldn't resist stealing a glance at her. Sue Mooching's face remained expressionless, but the tips of her ears seemed a little red. Was it my imagination? She didn't speak. She just picked up the water glass on the table and slowly took a sip. My heart sank little by little. It's over. She's going to reject me, isn't she? She definitely thinks I'm ridiculous. Just as I was about to be crushed by the silence, Sue Mooching finally put down her glass. She looked at me, her eyes no longer as cold as usual. There seemed to be something else in them, something sparkling. Lin Xiaodong. She called my full name, her voice low but very clear. Here, I responded reflexively, my palms slick with sweat from nerves. Are you? She paused, seeming to choose her words carefully. Are you sure your brain isn't confused because of the injury to your wrist? Or is it because of my grandpa that you have this illusion? No, absolutely not. I was so anxious I almost stood up. My mind is crystal clear. It has nothing to do with Grandpa Sue. I just like you. Sue Mooching. I like you as a person. My voice was a bit loud, drawing a glance from the guests at the next table. I hurriedly lowered my voice, but my tone was incredibly firm. I'm very sure. Sue Mooching looked at me, and she looked for a long time. Then, she suddenly gave a very soft, light smile. Not her usual faint, lukewarm smile, but one where the corners of her eyes curled up, carrying a bit of genuine mirth. That smile left me dumbfounded. She made a sound. What does mean? Is it yes or no? I scratched my head in anxiety. Sue, you. What on earth do you mean? Can you give me a straight answer? I was on the verge of tears. Sue Mooching looked at my frantic state, smiled again, and then said unhurriedly, my meaning is, I also think you'll do. I'll do what? I froze for several seconds before it suddenly clicked. She was agreeing. A massive wave of ecstasy instantly rushed to my head. I shot up from my seat, incoherent with excitement. You agreed? Really? You're not lying to me, right? Sue Mooching, pinch me. Am I dreaming? Sue Mooching was amused by my exaggerated reaction. She actually reached out and gently pinched my arm. Does it hurt? It hurts. I rubbed my arm with a silly grin, feeling like I was stepping on clouds, floating on air. You're really my girlfriend now. Sue Mooching nodded slightly, her ears turning even redder. Yes. I was so happy I almost wanted to hop in place. But considering we were in a restaurant, I forced myself to hold back, leaving me with nothing but a persistent, goofy grin. Just then, the food arrived, breaking the slightly silly yet sweet atmosphere. The whole meal, I was in a state of extreme excitement. I kept putting food in Sue Mooching's bowl, but barely ate a few bites myself. I just kept staring at her, feeling like I couldn't get enough. Sue Mooching, on the other hand, was quite composed, eating and drinking as usual. Only when she occasionally looked up and collided with my intense gaze would she slightly turn her face away. But the corners of her mouth always held a faint smile. After eating, I walked her home. The streets at night were quiet. We walked side by side, much closer than usual. The back of my hand occasionally brushed against hers. Every contact felt like a tiny electric current rushing through. When we reached the bottom of her building, I stopped, my heart starting to drum again. Shouldn't there be a goodnight kiss or something? That's how it goes on TV. I looked at her. The street lamp cast soft shadows on her face. I gathered my courage, slowly lowered my head, and leaned in toward her. Sue Mooching didn't dodge. She just tilted her face up slightly and closed her eyes. My heart was beating like a drum, and just as I was about to touch her lips, suddenly, the voice-activated light in the stairwell went out. The surroundings instantly plunged into darkness. I was startled, and my movement froze halfway. Sue Mooching couldn't help but let out a laugh, reaching out to slap the wall, and the light came back on. She looked at my embarrassed face and smiled, saying, "Go back now. Be careful on the way." I was so embarrassed I wanted to find a hole to crawl into. I stammered a good night, turned around, and walked away, swinging my arm and leg on the same side like a robot. After a few steps, I couldn't help looking back and saw she was still standing there, smiling and waving at me. I ran all the way home with a silly grin, feeling like there was wind beneath my feet. My wrist didn't even hurt anymore. Back in the empty room, I excitedly messaged Zhao Yumi. "Korn, I succeeded." She agreed. Zhao Yumi's call came immediately, followed by a burst of excited screaming and interrogation. I incoherently recounted the whole process, including the funny lights-out incident at the end. Zhao Yumi was laughing crazily on the other end. "Ha ha ha, Lin Xiaodong. You're a genius. You can even make a confession so dramatic. But congratulations. You're finally off the market. Remember to treat me." Hanging up, I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, still feeling like I was dreaming. Sue Mooching really became my girlfriend. I raised my hand, looking at the wristband she gave me, and couldn't help giggling. It seems getting my wrist injured wasn't entirely a bad thing. In the first few days after making it official with Sue Mooching, I was just happily goofing around all day. Everything looked pleasing to the eye. Even the software bugs started to look charming. The first thing I did upon waking up was grab my phone to message Sue Mooching. "Sue, good morning. My wrist feels much better." Attached, a grinning selfie. Sue Mooching usually didn't reply that quickly. She had to get up and go to work. When she finally replied, it was often just one word. "MH," or she might add a sentence. "Remember to apply your patch." Just that was enough to make me hold my phone and giggle like a fool for half the day. Zhao Yumi said I looked like a complete moron, and I didn't deny it. Sue Mooching was busy with work, and I had to make the most of my time fixing the demo, so we actually didn't see each other that often. But she would use her lunch break or drop by on her way home from work to make rounds at my place. Mainly, she came to check if I was dutifully nursing my injury, and, incidentally, to bring me some soups and broths she had simmered. Every time I heard the doorbell ring, I'd rush to open it like a wind-up toy. Sue Mooching would be standing at the door, looking as cool and aloof as ever. But the look in her eyes seemed a little softer than before. "How is it today?" she asked while changing her shoes, using the tone of an attending physician. Reporting, DR. "Sue, everything is normal." Patch applied, soup consumed code, secretly typed for a little bit. I stood at attention to report. She would frown. "Don't you want your wrist anymore?" I do. I hurriedly admitted my mistake. "I only typed for an hour." "Really?" I set an alarm. She didn't say anything else, just walked over and naturally took my hand to inspect it. Her fingers were a bit cool, and when they touched my skin, I couldn't help my heart beating faster. Is this the so-called sour stench of love? I used to mock others for it, but now I'm totally enjoying it. After the checkup, she would sometimes massage the acupoints on my arm, saying it was to unblock my meridians. Her technique was professional, the pressure was just right, and it was so comfortable I wanted to hum in pleasure. DR. "Sue." I looked at her lowered lashes, unable to resist a cheeky comment. "Isn't this an abuse of power? Using your professional position to take advantage of your boyfriend?" Sue Mooching applied a bit more pressure, making me hiss in pain. Keep talking nonsense, and next time I'll use needles until you cry. Her tone was threatening, but there was a smile in her eyes. I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare. I quickly begged for mercy. These trivial daily interactions made me feel incredibly grounded. It turns out that being in love isn't all about the dramatic fireworks shown in movies. It's more about this kind of steady, enduring companionship and playful bickering. Of course, there were awkward moments too. For instance, one time I was wearing headphones, fully immersed in debugging. I didn't hear Sue Mooching come in. She didn't call out to me either, just stood behind me watching. When I finally solved the difficult problem and waved my hand in excitement, my elbow almost hit her, scaring the living daylights out of me. When did you get here? Why didn't you make a sound? I asked, patting my chest. Sue Mooching pointed at my computer screen. There's a problem with that nested loop. The efficiency is too low. It's prone to deadlocks. I leaned to take a look, and she was right. Someone who had been programming for so many years, actually had a bug pointed out by a TCM doctor. My face instantly flushed red. I left that there on purpose to test you, I said, trying desperately to save face. Sue Mooching raised an eyebrow. Oh, looks like I passed then. Please continue your test, Teacher Lin. Me? Total defeat. Besides coding, we also had huge disagreements on the topic of maintaining one's health. While I got tired from reading and habitually want to make a cup of strong tea to perk up, she stopped me immediately. Strong tea at night? Do you not want to sleep? I'm mentally exhausted. I need stimulation. I argued. Without a word, she swapped it for a glass of warm milk, the kind with a spoonful of honey added. This is more soothing for the nerves. I looked at the milky white liquid, wanting to cry, but failing. Similar incidents were too numerous to count. She strictly controlled my diet, forbade me from eating late-night snacks, and urged me to go to bed when it was time. I felt like I hadn't found a girlfriend, but a lifestyle manager, and a particularly strict one at that. But strangely enough, being managed like this actually helped me kick a lot of my bad habits like staying up late. My wrist recovered quickly, and even my complexion became rosier. As expected, professional matters should be left to the professionals. Once our relationship stabilized, meeting the parents was put on the agenda. Actually, it wasn't formally proposed. It was just my mom and Sue Mooching's mom. These two veteran shippers couldn't hold back any longer. One weekend, while I was busy in the studio, my mom called. Little Dong, bring Mooching home for dinner tonight. I stewed chicken soup. Tianming is coming back too. Covering the phone, I whispered to Sue Mooching, who was reading a medical book. My mom wants us to come home for dinner tonight. Do you want to go? Sue Mooching looked up from her book, completely calm. Sure. I breathed a sigh of relief, but also felt a bit nervous. That evening, I made sure to change into clothes that made me look a bit sharper and went home with Sue Mooching. As soon as we walked in the door, we were met with double the enthusiasm. Mooching is here. Come in, come in. Oh my, look at that glowing complexion. My mom held Sue Mooching's hand, grinning from ear to ear. Sue's mother was there too, beaming just as brightly. Xiaodong is here too. Come sit, come sit. Is your wrist any better? Let Mooching take a look at it for you. Sue Mooching and I were pressed onto the sofa as the two mothers bustled about like bees, serving tea, water, fruits, and snacks. Sitting opposite us, Sue Tianming winked and made faces at me, mouthing the words, "Meeting the parents, oh." I glared at him. At the dinner table, the atmosphere was even more heated. The two mothers took turns piling food into our bowls, the conversation revolving entirely around the two of us. Mooching, Xiaodong is a child who just doesn't know how to take care of himself. You'll have to trouble yourself to keep him in line in the future, my mom said. Don't worry, Andy, I will. Sue Mooching nodded and placed a piece of pork rib in my bowl. Eat more. It's good for calcium. Xiaodong, Mooching is busy with work. You need to be considerate and not make her worry all the time. Sue's mother said to me, I know, Annie. I'll definitely listen. I quickly declare my stance and serve a bowl of soup for Sue Mooching. Drink some soup. It's good for the lungs. Our mutual caretaking evidently pleased the two matriarchs. They exchanged a glance, their smiles growing even more gratified. Sue Tianming, watching with amusement from the side, chimed in, Mom, Annie Fong, you two can stop worrying. I think my sister has my brother-in-law completely under control. Tianming, Sue mooching and I shouted in unison to stop him. But the two mothers laughed, even happier. Exactly, exactly. It looks good to us. A perfect match. I felt an immense amount of pressure during the meal, yet somehow there was also a warm, fuzzy feeling, as if our relationship had received the firmest support from our closest loved ones. After dinner, my mom and Sue's mom went to the kitchen to clean up, leaving the space to us young people. Su Tianming sidled up to me with a sly look. So, brother-in-law, how does it feel to be officially on the job? Blushing, I glanced at Su mooching. She was quite calm, keeping her head down as she peeled an apple. It's all right, I mumbled. What do you mean all right? With such a great girlfriend as my sister, you should be secretly rejoicing. Su Tianming bumped my shoulder, then turned to his sister. Sis, if he ever dares to bully you, tell me. I'll sort him out for you. Su mooching handed the peeled apple to me and said faintly, he wouldn't dare. I took the apple and took a bite. It was sweet. On the way back, I held Su mooching's hand as we walked through the familiar alley. The night breeze blew gently, feeling very pleasant. Dr. Su, I swung our joined hands. Do you think this counts as obtaining official certification? Su mooching turned her head to look at me, the street lamp's light outlining her silhouette. Amen. You must be even more cautious with your words and actions in the future, Comrade Lin shouted on. I laughed and tightened my grip on her hand. Mission guaranteed, Leader Su mooching. After some time passed, I finally sent the optimized demo to the investors. The waiting period was exceptionally torturous. I was restless, sitting as if there were nails under my backside. When Su mooching came over after work, she saw me staring blankly at the computer screen, my hand unconsciously squeezing that slightly worn wrist guard. She asked, nervous? Obviously, I said with a long face. This determines whether your boyfriend feasts or goes hungry. She walked over, naturally took my hand, and pressed her fingers against a few acupoints on my wrist. Relax. You've already done your best. No amount of anxiety now will change the result. Her hand was a bit cool, but the pressure felt comforting. I calmed down slightly and held her hand in return. Ms. Su, if this falls through, I might really have to consider going home to find a job as a security guard. Su mooching raised an eyebrow. And then, let me, a doctor, support you as security guard? I teased her on purpose. Why not? A doctor and a guard. How stable. I could protect your personal safety too. She gently pulled her hand away and tapped my head. Dream on. If it falls through, just start over. My clinic is still missing someone to fill prescriptions. You can come and try. Fill prescriptions? I imagine myself wearing a white coat, fumbling in a panic before a wall of traditional medicine drawers, and shuddered. Better not. I'm afraid I'd treat the patients to death. Just then, the computer went ding. An email notification. My heart stopped. I practically lunged forward to click open the email. Sender, investors. Content, demo reviewed. Creativity and completion exceed expectations. The team has great potential. Is it convenient to schedule a time to discuss the next steps of cooperation? I jumped straight up from the chair, grabbed Su mooching in a hug, and spun around in circles excitedly. Passed. They said they want to talk about cooperation. Mooching. We did it. Su mooching was nearly suffocated by my bear hug, but she didn't push me away. Instead, she just smiled and patted my back. All right, I get it. Put me down, I'm getting dizzy. I set her down, still buzzing with excitement, and planted a loud kiss on her cheek. Mooching, you're my lucky star. Su mooching froze for a second, her ears turning red at a visible speed, before pushing me away. Cut out. Hurry up and reply to Zhao Yumi. She's probably waiting anxiously. Right. I quickly sat down, my hands trembling as I messaged Zhao Yumi the good news. She called immediately, screaming on the other end even more dramatically than I just had. After hanging up, still immersed in immense joy, I looked at Su mooching smiling beside me, and my heart stirred. I opened my laptop, typed out a few lines of code, and hit run. A very simple animation appeared on the screen. A little pixel man, obviously me, kneeling on one knee. He was holding up a pixel ring toward another pixel figure wearing a white coat, obviously her. Next to them was a line of flashing text. Dr. Su, care to provide a lifetime warranty for my game in my life. This was the most romantic confession a programmer, could come up with. Pointing at the screen, I looked at Sue mooching, feeling a bit shy, but full of anticipation. I know it's a bit early to say this, and I can't afford a real ring yet, but I'm serious. Sue mooching, would you be willing to keep managing me like this forever? Sue mooching stared at the two clumsy pixel figures on the screen for a long time. Then, she turned to look at me, her eyes bright and brimming with laughter, along with a tenderness I had never seen before. The code isn't bad, she commented first, before speaking slowly. However, a lifetime warranty is a heavy responsibility, Mr. Lin. My heart leaped into my throat. She paused, seeing how nervous I was, and finally couldn't help but laugh. She reached out and gently held the hand on which I wore my wrist brace. For the sake of your sincerity, approved. A wave of immense happiness and relief instantly washed over me. I squeezed her hand back tightly, grinning like a big, overgrown kid. Later, our game launched successfully, performing even better than we had anticipated. Zhao Yumi and I managed to establish a firm foothold for our studio in the industry. My life with Sue mooching remained ordinary, with just a few little bumps along the way. She was still the rigorous DR. Sue who would frown when I secretly drank ice-cold cola, and I would still nag her when she got too busy with work and forgot to eat. But we were both learning how to get along better and how to be our truest selves in front of each other. During Chinese New Year, our families had dinner together, and the atmosphere was even livelier than the last time. My mom and Sue's mom had already started subtly discussing names for future grandchildren. Su Tianming started teasing us, so I stuffed the biggest piece of braised pork in his mouth to shut him up. After dinner, Su mooching and I strolled downstairs for a walk. The night was quiet, with only the occasional sound of firecrackers. I held her hand and tucked it into my down jacket pocket to keep it warm. Dr. Su, thank you. For what? Thank you for not giving up on this troublesome patient back then. Su mooching tilted her head to look at me. Her eyes looked beautiful under the streetlights. Thank you, too. She paused, her tone holding a rare hint of teasing. Thank you to this troublesome patient for being relatively obedient and recovering quickly, so you didn't ruin my reputation as Miracle Dr. Su. I laughed, leaned in, and planted a quick kiss on her face. Don't worry, Miracle Dr. Su. I looked in her eyes and said seriously, I guarantee this lifetime warranty client will be low maintenance and keep you satisfied. Su mooching looked at me and smiled too, gently squeezing my hand. Okay. Bonus chapter. Su mooching's perspective. May 9th, 2011. That day, I got into another argument with Grandpa. It was about my college applications. He wanted me to apply to a University of Chinese Medicine and take over the clinic. I knew this was his expectation, my responsibility, but at that moment, I felt like I was suffocating. I was tired of being the sensible child, tired of memorizing those dry, boring medicinal rhymes. I wanted to escape, to run as far away as possible. In the heat of the moment, I said some harsh things. Grandpa's face sank instantly, his disappointment weighing on my heart like a stone. I didn't listen to a single word in class all day. I didn't want to go home. I couldn't cry at home, and I couldn't cry at school. Finally, I hid on the rooftop of the nearly abandoned laboratory building behind the high school section. There was no one there, but just as I squatted in the corner and buried my face in my arms, I heard the iron door creak open. I hurriedly wiped my face and looked up to see a silhouette standing in the doorway against the light. His school uniform hung loose and baggy on him. It was that ninth grade brat, Lin Xiaodong. He visibly froze when he saw me, scratching his head in awkwardness. Sister Mooching, what are you doing here? I turned my head away, not wanting him to see my red eyes. Nothing. What did you come up here for? My voice was still a bit raspy. He sauntered in, holding a half-drunk bottle of Coke. Skipping class. We have PE. It's boring. He walked over to the wall across from me and squatted down as well, leaving a small distance between us. He didn't look at me, choosing instead to tilt his head back and stare at the rusty railing. It was so quiet that only the sound of the wind remained. After a long while, he suddenly asked in a hushed voice, "Get told off." I didn't make a sound. He fell silent again. A moment later, I heard a rustling sound. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him digging around in his school uniform pocket. He pulled out a small packet and held it out. It was a bag of fruit candy, the cheapest kind sold at the school store, full of colorful pieces. The wrapper was faded and worn for being rubbed against the fabric. "Here," he said just that one word. I didn't take it. He looked a bit embarrassed and placed the candy on the ground between us. "Have something sweet. It'll make you feel better." He paused, then added, "My mom said so." I still didn't move. He didn't seem to know what else to do, so he just crouched there, keeping me company in silence. That clumsy quiet actually felt better than any prying questions could have. "Lin Xiaodong." I spoke suddenly, my voice sounding dry and hollow. "Huh." He immediately turned to look at me. "Don't you ever have any worries? You seem so cheerful all the time," I asked. I was genuinely curious. His grades were average, and he was a troublemaker. It seemed like nothing ever truly stressed him out. He paused for a second, then grinned, revealing two sharp little canine teeth. "I do. How could I not? I'm annoyed that I haven't done my daily quests in the game today. I'm afraid I won't make it back in time for the event." I was choked into silence by his answer, momentarily unsure how to respond. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, he scratched his head and switched to a slightly more serious tone. "Actually, Sister Mooching, I just think. What's the point of overthinking it? Do you like studying medicine?" I interrupted him. He immediately shook his head vigorously. "No way. All those acupoints and names of herbs. Just looking at them makes my head spin." "Then what do you like?" "Gaming." His eyes instantly lit up. "I want to make my own games in the future. The really awesome kind." When he said that, there was a uniquely pure light in his eyes, an unreserved longing for the thing he loved. That light pricked in my eyes, making them sting. I used to have that too, but it felt like I hadn't seen it in a long time. "If you like it, then play," I whispered. "Exactly." He seemed to have found a kindred spirit. "If you like it, do it. If you don't, well, then think it over. The sky isn't going to fall." He said it so casually, as if it were truly the simplest truth in the world. Yeah, the sky isn't going to fall. But why did I feel like it was so heavy? We fell silent for a while longer. Suddenly, he stood up and dusted off the seat of his pants. "Sister Mooching, want to skip class with me?" "Go where?" "Internet cafe." He bent down, picked up the bag of candy from the ground, and stuffed it into my hand. "No point staying here anyway." The candy wrapper carried the warmth of his pocket. I gripped that packet of cheap candy, watching his back as he walked ahead. His school jacket swayed with his movements. When he reached the wall, he vaulted right over it. I stood by the wall without moving. He looked back, saw I hadn't moved, and urged, "Come on, I'll buy you a soda, orange flavor." In that moment, this kid, who I usually found annoying and unreliable, suddenly didn't seem so small anymore. In his own clumsy way, he had handed me a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of light, and the assurance that the sky isn't going to fall. I reached out my hand to him, and together we climbed over the wall. We found a small shop. True to his word, he ran in and bought 2 bottles of orange soda, handing one to me. The glass bottle was icy cold. "Thanks," I said. He chuckled and clinked his bottle against mine. "Don't mention it." That day was May 9th, 2011. I didn't go play games with him. Instead, I went to find Grandpa and had him dragged out of there. Later on, I ultimately chose traditional Chinese medicine. Not out of compromise, but because after that day, I suddenly figured something out. Responsibility and passion don't necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. Just like that bag of fruit candy, the taste was ordinary, but that clumsy sentiment was sweet. Many years later, I set that date as my password. Every time I type it in, what comes to mind isn't the arguments, nor the grievances. Instead, it was that boy with the little snaggletooth who squatted across from me, handed me a pack of candy, and told me, "The sky won't fall." He has probably long since forgotten, but I have always remembered. The end.